Verismo was a reaction to the tradition of opera being about royal people, being about politics, being about godlike figures. And it was a reaction against that to something that was more more like real life, and more about ordinary people. Verismo means vero, real, life, having to do with the truth. And, but it implies an extreme emotion that is so extreme that it probably leads to violence. And Verismo, you can't think of Verismo without thinking of the knife and the blood. And that's very important. And it makes for great theatre. And that's why it's a genre that is very compelling for the audience. I think every kind of opera puts its characters through extreme emotions. But the emotions that are being portrayed in Verismo operas is much more raw. In fact, for instance, Pagliacci is based on something that really happened. So a newspaper article about an assassination on a stage. So these things are, you know, they really are trying to get to things that are essential and that are not dealing with the gods, if you like. It's also very, I would say, kind of a dangerous vocality, because for those people who don't have really perfect techniques, it can ruin singers, because the emotional content is so intense that if singers just let themselves completely go without any discipline whatsoever, you can ruin the voices. And this is where Jonas Kaufmann is so brilliant, because Jonas has all the abandon, all the sweep, all the slancio, all the sensuality of this music, but he has such a wonderful classical technique which allows him to sing with abandon, but always knowing exactly what he's doing technically. Jonas speaks Italian beautifully, so he has a relationship to the language which is so crucial to this repertoire. It's without the real connection to the language, to the power and the direction of the language. I've performed with Jonas quite often, and his stage persona is very interesting, because he's very good looking, but he's very, very willing to show the ugly side of his characters, and that's very, very important, especially in repertoire like Carmen, like Tosca, like well, in the Don José character, the Cavaradossi character in Tosca, and in the Verismo repertoire, because that's an essential part of really getting into the theatricality of what's going on. He also very well knows how to capture the atmosphere of the moment. And this, for a singing actor, is very, very important, because every night is different. Every performance is different. You have a plan. You know the technique of what you're going to do, but somehow he knows how to change every evening depending on what's going on. And I think that that's extremely valuable to a theatre and to a conductor, certainly. Plus, he's a conductor's dream because he's so musical. I mean, all the choices he makes are based on something to do with the music or the words, and are not just about the voice. And I think that that's makes him a very, very important artist today. My father was a tenor, so I've known all these arias all my life. I lost my father 5 years ago, so this record to me is something very, very important, because I played these arias for my father hundreds of times. And so every one of them means something very, very important to me. I think the Verismo singers of today, 2010, are very few. And the repertoire gets done less and less because of the lack of singers to do this repertoire. So I think Jonas will make a big impact with this recording, because actually, stylistically, you cannot fault it. And he doesn't play safe. He takes all the risks and sings with so much color and so much contrast. This is different from the other people. Verismo singers tend to sing from forte and go from forte and get louder, usually. There's a kind of a quite a lack of refinement. But actually, if you look at the music, there's many possibilities for color and for very, very intimate musicality. And he achieves that at the same time as drawing your attention to the spectacular, vocal moments which are famous.